Hello, ladies and gentlemen, bacteria, gentlemen, adults, team, welcome back to another video, and this one's a little bit more unique to the other ones, well, somewhat. It's more about a recent topic at hand that I've seen and that was brought up by a certain YouTuber, in which I thought was interesting enough to at least, do a full discussion video on. Because it has a lot of potential to actually happen, slash, a lot of possibilities for it, but at the same time, it has a lot of negative connotations to it. And I don't know what would happen if I bring it to light. Maybe it'll do a lot of good bringing it to light, or may do a lot of negative. Or, it might hurt it. I don't know. It might help or hurt. It depends on what happens. And for those of you curious as to what I mean, if the title doesn't make sense, I'll explain it in a lot more detail. But first, let me preference this. This video comes out a couple of weeks after, or at least a few days after Sonic Forces, which I actually got to play. Not fully, but a little bit. And so far, kind of agree with everyone when they say this is painfully average. This game is just kind of lazy in some places, at least in the first few levels from what I've played. And a lot of people also sort of agree with that and feel that this Sonic game just doesn't feel that great. And one person in particular that sort of brought this idea to mind, and it's purely because, like, the person who talked about this also did a review on Sonic Mania, was a person by the name, or, a YouTube channel by the name of Some Call Me Johnny. And the guy who runs it, Johnny, which I'm assuming is his name, because I know these people either go by character names or have full actual names, but I'm pretty sure his name's Johnny to some degree. Anyway, the person that I'm talking about, Johnny himself, actually brought up this particular point at the very end of his review of Sonic Forces. So I do suggest watching his video, because his video is actually pretty good. It's pretty concise and has a lot of good points, and I actually enjoyed it. But at the very end, the very end of the game his review was really something that really sparked something in me, because I tried to look into it and I see a lot of potential in this idea in mind, but at the same time, it could be something where it doesn't work. Okay, what did he say at the very end? He suggested that maybe they should do a Sonic Mania sort of aspect to 3D Sonic, but this time they should bring in people who are fans of the 3D Sonic era of games, and they should bring them in to make a Sonic Adventures 3 or some type of Sonic Adventures game that's, similar to the Sonic Adventures series, like I said before, but made by fans for fans, like they did with Mania. So that's why the title of this video is, Sonic Mania, Sonic Adventures Mania. And I know that's confusing, but I could have put it at 3, but, I decided to skip the numbers because, gaming titles and a lot of other titles of games and other media don't really go by numbers too much. But this sounds like a cool idea that I really want to bring more to light, because there is a possibility for it and more to it than what Johnny at first mentioned. I'm pretty sure he thought about it and, he rambled. Well, technically at the very end of this video, it was unscripted, and I have nothing against it, speak your mind of what you think. And it is a good idea in mind. I'm just pretty sure he didn't think there was some people who could actually do this. Like, some people like Christian Whitehead who make fan games of Sonic that were actually pretty good. That are, very great, or had a lot of potential to them. At least on a 3D aspect, because 3D games aren't that really easy to make. 2D is a little bit... I'm not saying making games in general is easy to make, but 3D I'm pretty sure is a lot more tougher to do in certain aspects, at least to some degree. But, as you can see from this 3D game that I am playing, this time I'm going to have video game footage played over the background, because I think it's a lot more, better in this regard at least. I might do this sometimes, may not do this all the time, I don't know. It depends on the media that I need to talk about, because, anime discussions. If I did discuss about anime games, or no, anime games, just anime in general, I'd be copyrighted because I need to put footage, something to play over the background, but, really isn't that much, I really couldn't deal with that here and there, I don't know, it really all depends. But, anyway, as you can see, there is a game that isn't really made by Sega that's a 3D, Sonic game that's actually pretty good from what I've heard. I'm playing it myself, of course. This is the footage you get from me. And I think it's good. I think it's fun. And so, you know what? I think the people who made this should be on should be at least brought up to attention, and that's what this video is about. It's a discussion of whether or not Sonic Adventure Mania could possibly happen, and this is just speculation and just more of bringing it to light, and hopefully, in the hopes that maybe the people who were behind Sonic Utopia, this is the game that I'm playing, are brought to attention to Sega, and maybe they think, you know what, maybe it's time to hand 3D Sonic games to another group of people, because it's like Sonic Mania did so well. Maybe the people who made Sonic this 3D Sonic game could also be brought on to our group to make another Sonic game like Sonic Mania and do very well. It's a possibility, but at the same time, you know, it could be a negative effect where if I bring it up, Sega might look at this and say, oh, this is not good, let's try and cancel this out before people think that, oh hey, they can make a good Sonic game. And like a good 3D Sonic game without us. Or, you know, that type of stuff. I don't know. It really all depends. But really, let me talk about this Sonic game really just to get some, you know, information out there. Just, you know, to get more stuff to at least talk about here and there. So, what is this game? Sonic Utopia, from what you can see, is a 3D platforming-esque, some people call it more parkour than platforming, video game that's more in the vein of the Sonic 2D sort of gameplay, as sort of. I mean, its art style and we call it gameplay, at least from what you can see so far, is more based on the 2D Sonic games, not the 3D ones like Adventures or the 3D era modern Sonic stuff. That's not what this is based off. It's more based off of, you know, like the 2D era, but more sped up and put in a core different design of Sonic, you know, 3DS stuff. You get my point. You can see what it looks like. But the people who made it themselves have also stated that they want to put the core mechanics of Sonic and try to make it better. And this is one of the few issues that also bring up that could possibly be an issue, in which if they did bring these people to light, then they could have this particular problem in mind. But this 3D Sonic game is more fast and has decent controls, and the speed of it is actually pretty good in an open area. This is like an open world-esque like Sonic game that feels sort of linear, you know, because it's sort of a straight line, but still has pretty good places to go and places to do. And I know what you're gonna say, and I know some people know about this game already, and this game itself is, of course, a demo. It's not fully realized yet. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just saying, like, so far from what you can see, it's not really that open world-esque, but it's a good start. But who are the people who made this game? Well, it's a small group team of people. So far from what I can tell by the usernames, they're weird. Well, at least from the usernames, because some of them are named Murasaki, the Great Lang, Teapot, and literally Teapot, and Pixie? I don't know. I'm not gonna judge usernames, because my name's Zodrod Ultimus, and the people who made Sonic, what do you call it? Sonic Mania were, Taxman, Cannon Head, and, I think the last one was something like, what was that third guy? Okay, I'll get it in a minute. But anyway, yeah, the people who made Sonic, Mania also had weird usernames. But the people behind those usernames, the actual people, like Christian Whitehead, have a passion towards Sonic that I don't really see in Sonic Forces anymore. Oh yeah, the other guy was named Pagoda West. I'm gonna put text up on the screen so that way you can see them. But anyway, Christian Whitehead and all these other people who made Sonic Mania, they cared about this game. They liked the 2D Sonic games, and so they made something that was interesting and very worth playing, and very, you know, just throwback to it, but made it very good in its own way. And they did well with it, and they made a good 2D Sonic game, a great one. And a lot of people also agree with that. I think it's very good in terms of its gameplay design, and everyone can say what they want about Mania, whether or not like Sonic was any good before or after, but it was still a good Sonic game. I liked it, honestly. I enjoyed it a lot. A lot of people did. So, and these people had a passion for it. So, And I didn't get that with Sonic Forces, so... But, you know, Sonic Utopia itself, it definitely has a lot of spirit to it from what I'm playing, from what you can see. It has a lot to it. Despite not being like a full release game, and despite being a demo, it's very good. So, maybe the people who made this game could make a fully realized Sonic 3D game, something similar to the Adventure series, because the Adventure series themselves, people can complain about like certain little bits here and there, and yes, a lot of parts of it weren't that good. For example, Big the Cat, which I don't need to say much more of. Sonic Adventures 1, in my opinion, was sort of fun in certain places. It's like 80% fun, 10% of it, which was aimless stages, were boring at best. And the other 10%, which was the Big the Cat stages, were also very much slogs to get through and kind of bad. Well, mainly bad, because it's like, you can at least train and at least bother to get better at Big the Cat stages, but you know what? You're never going to have fun playing those stages. But the other stages with like Tails, Knuckles, and that robot character, they were fun, honestly. They were fun. So most of the game is fun, while other part of it isn't that great or terrible. So you know what? All in all, that was a good or decent game. Sonic Adventures 2, all of the like Sonic's stages and Shadow stages were fun and fast. I will say that, you know, the Eggman and Tails stages where they're on mechs are a bit weird, but they're not terrible. I thought they were fun. Knuckles and Rouge's stages are the ones that have some of the more worse for wear stages, at least in my opinion. At least for one particular places. They aren't good, and they could use a lot of work, but they aren't bad either. At least in my opinion, they aren't. So, you know, the Adventure series as a whole, it wasn't bad, but it certainly has some, you know, decent parts here and there. And that's something you could look at and think, hey, maybe they could do the same thing they did with Adventures and put it into a 3D Sonic game, but have it made by fans who actually care about it, like they do with Mania. Because there are people who are 3D fans of Sonic, at least to some degree, and really like, you know, the games that were 3D and try to make something that was different and about the same on par with, like, Sonic Adventures, or Sonic, like, you know, the Sonic 2D games, but made it more into a 3D environment. Maybe they can do something like that. And maybe they could get the same people who made Sonic Utopia and bring them in and actually do a Sonic Adventures Mania. And it's an idea that could possibly happen because, well, they brought in people to make Sonic Mania, which was a fan group that made, you know, a game that was very good in a lot of people's opinion, and, you know, Sega has to take note of that. It's a very good game that a lot of people, liked, but at the same time, that could be an impossibility, because there's a lot of stuff for a possibility for this, but at the same time, there's a lot against it, because, first of all, the people who made Sonic Utopia, from what I can see and from what I've read, I didn't read that much, unfortunately, but from what I could see and, you know, played, and from what I can actually, you know, see right now, they aren't really, you know, Sonic Adventure fans. They were mainly Sonic 2D fans, but they do know how to make a Sonic game into 3D. But at the same time, they aren't really, like, you know, the people who would be the best to make a Sonic Adventures 3 or Sonic Adventures Mania in my mind. Because this game feels more like and it's made out to be a 2D Sonic game, but on a 3D plane. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just saying, like, if you want a game that's somewhat similar to Sonic Adventures, or Sonic 3D game in general that's good, if you want a game that's a Sonic 3D game that's good in general, then these people would be a good idea to bring in mind. But if you want a game that's specifically like Sonic Adventures, possibly Sonic Adventures 3 or Mania, like I'm suggesting, then these people may not be the best in mind if they don't really like the Adventures game, because unfortunately the Sonic fandom, to some degree, is split up into sections of classic, modern, and adventure series of people who like these particular games in mind way too much, or think they're the best, despite some of the other games having issues and having some of these other games being pretty good in some degree. But it really all depends on your opinion on either or. I don't know. Like, I think it's kind of dumb that fandom's kind of split up into these particular sections, but whatever. Myself including, I do like Sonic. I do want to point that out, of course, but I don't like love certain other games because certain Sonic games are bad, but some of them aren't terrible. I might get into that on my own time, but I'm not going to get into it. Just know that yeah, I am a fan of Sonic, but not a fanboy. Because I have to clarify that, of course. And if you want to know the difference between those, look it up on YouTube. There's like one dude who makes a clear difference between fans and fan bases and fanboys. I think his name is Haydox. I think so. I can never pronounce his name. Look up his video. You'll understand what I mean. But anyway, so that's one issue. But the other issue is that possibly Sega themselves might look at this game and think, oh, they're trying to steal our market or something, even though it's a free download to play. Yeah, let's take it down, like doing the Nintendo way, which is kind of dumb. Or they might just ignore it entirely, saying, hey, we can make our own Sonic games, we can make it ourselves, we don't need anyone else to do it. And, you know, they could just ignore it, and, you know, that could be either a detriment to them or possibly a problem in and of itself. They might just ignore it and say, hey, we're not going to bother making a 3D Sonic game because we don't need to, or at least we don't want to have another group of teams make another 3D Sonic game for us because we can do it ourselves. Trust me, we can. Because it took us 5 years to make Sonic Forces, a subpar, mediocre game, and we made it purely just to prove that we wouldn't make a Sonic 06-2. That's our main goal for Sonic Forces. And you know what? They did well in not making a Sonic 06-2, but they certainly didn't make a good Sonic, or a good, you know, Sonic 3D game. They made a mediocre one that really makes you think that they're starting to run out of either ideas or steam for the series in general. So that's something I want to bring up. Like, maybe they should bring other fans who are fans of the actual 3D stuff Sonic does, and bring them on, like they did with the Sonic Mania people, and make a Sonic Adventures Mania, or, you know, just another group of games. Maybe Sonic Colors 2, maybe, well, no, not Generations. Sonic Forces was basically Generations 2, but more watered down. But actually do something with, like, the 3D Sonic aspect, and maybe they can continue Sonic Forces to some degree, you know, with the customizable character thing, and make a spin-off game and base it off of whatever assets or ideas that the people who made Utopia have in mind. You know, it really all depends, because, like, you can still make a game's story or have its plot and still have control over what happens, but you can have people who can make the game and who actually care about the game and actually do stuff about it. You know, implement this stuff. Because, like, the people who made Sonic Utopia, they themselves made the game themselves. And, well, they made this particular game themselves, and they showed that they can do a lot of stuff with it, but you can still have control over it. Like, for example, Breath of the Wild to some degree is not really fully, well, you know, a full, okay, very basically, the idea in which you can have control of this game's story and certain little plots here and there is something that a lot of other games do have, because, like, for example, Shigeru Miyamoto, he owns Mario, and technically he came up with Mario, but he doesn't really write, or, well, he sort of does write certain little plots here and there, but he doesn't really have full control over Mario anymore. Well, not as much. He doesn't make the games directly, but he does have influence on them, or at least he produces them. So you know what? If you want a Sonic game that's under your belt, but you're willing to, like, lend it out to be made, like you did with Sonic Mania, maybe you can do that with Utopia and make a Sonic Adventure series sequel or new Sonic 3D game that's actually pretty good. It really all depends on whether or not, like, Sega might bother with this or not. I doubt they might, because there's a lot to, a lot against this idea in mind, and a lot for it. Either one is, like, completely up in the air as to whether or not it will happen or it won't happen. But I don't know. What do you guys think? If you guys think that there could be a possibility for Sonic Mania, you know, Sonic Adventures Mania or Sonic Colors 3 or any other 3D Sonic game made by the people who made Utopia, then I'm hopefully this at least gets your mind going, and hopefully the people, Go Free Games who made this Sonic Utopia are contacted by Sega to make an actual official 3D Sonic game. At least in my mind, I'm hoping for that type of thing. But maybe the whole Christian Whitehead thing, maybe that was only a one-time thing. I don't know. All I do know is that Sonic's not really in the roughest of shapes, but he certainly could be doing way better. And he has a lot of potential to do way better than he does now. So, I'll see y'all next time for the next video. Until then, sayonara, my bots.